good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much to FEAP for the invitation. I'm Veronique Jamin, IFFO's Communications and External Relations Director. I joined IFFO in 2019, and I'm very pleased to be with Peter, our Director General, who will be making the introduction, and I'll then make a part of today's webinar.
Okay, thank you very much, Veronique. And yes, Peter Johannessen, Director General, IFFO. Looking forward to meeting with you. Always good to step into the value chain and also have discussions and learn and understand your side of marine ingredients and how you're working with your feed suppliers. So if we go to the next slide. Yeah, so just a short introduction. I will give that. We were founded already in 1959, and we are a trade organization doing what we, as trade organizations, do. We are promoting and working on behalf of companies in the marine ingredients industry. We want to tell the story about marine ingredients industry as we know it and as we are developing it. Although we are focusing on producers initially, we also have members from all parts of our value chain and also surrounding stakeholders that are important for us to communicate with, understand, and also work with in certain instances, as we will discuss later. Our network reaches across 50 countries. We have members from 45 countries, and the number of members is already up to 250. Still growing, actually, also growing through the COVID years. So I think it's also showing that we have a solid and good platform to work on. We represent 55% of the world production and 80% of the fish meal and fish oil that is traded worldwide. So that's the short story about IFFO, and we'll take you through the presentation, and I'll leave the word to Veronique now.
Yep. Thank you very much, Peter. So Peter and I will run today's presentation in tandem. So before we dive into the presentation, let me just add to Peter's introduction that IFFO is an active stakeholder involved in numerous platforms. We are an accredited observer to the United Nations FAO and to the International Maritime Organization. IFFO is also a founder of the Global Roundtable on Marine Ingredients, which we will mention later in this presentation. We believe that a value chain approach is key to enlarging global knowledge and to addressing ongoing and future challenges that food systems are facing. And with this in mind, we are delighted to be speaking at this webinar because it's really core to our mindset to meet with the value chain representatives and contribute to a better understanding of the marine ingredient sector. And directly linked to this consideration, we wanted to start with the importance of sharing, which was highlighted actually by a Nuffield report published a few weeks ago and authored by Ayla Jones. As part of her study tour, she visited several countries in Asia, Americas, and Europe. Her visits and meetings were carried out with a range of aquaculture feed stakeholders, including feed ingredient producers, feed manufacturers, fish farmers, researchers, seafood processors, seafood companies, and last but not least, retailers. And from her research, it appeared that aquafeed data collection and certification were largely focused on known risks, that is, environmental impacts of marine ingredients and soy. Stakeholders that she met suggested that feed companies are currently leading the work on feed sustainability, while limitations to working more on feed sustainability was largely lack of information and data regarding feed production and sustainability challenges, 43%, as you can see, with other challenges, but not as predominant as this one. So we've used these findings to share the presentation we will be doing with you today, so that you have some key elements from us in mind regarding the marine ingredient sector. In the next slide, we can see the structure of this proposed presentation. We will examine 3 key topics: the key marine ingredients market drivers, their nutritional properties, and their sustainability story. With the next slide, let's start with a few figures. So marine ingredients are mostly fish meal and fish oil. Other ingredients are also represented by IFFO, but most of our figures rely on the fish meal and fish oil statistics. In a normal year, 5 million tons of fish meal and 1 million tons of fish oil are produced globally. 2/3 of them are produced using wild-caught small pelagic fish. These small pelagic fish come from low trophic level fisheries and refer to fast-growing, early maturing, and highly productive species, such as the Peruvian anchovy, the Atlantic and Gulf menhaden in the US, and various other species such as sardines, prat, mackerel, krill, sandeel stocks around the world. So 2/3 of wild-caught fish, 1/3 of fish meal and fish oil is produced using fish byproducts. This is a share that keeps growing over time. Indeed, aquaculture is now a major player in the provision of marine ingredient raw materials with byproducts from farmed salmon, tilapia, and pangasius sectors being the major contributors nowadays. Those materials, wild-caught fish and byproducts, are cooked, pressed, and dried, and they are transformed into fish meal and fish oil, and they're used by the feed industry to mostly produce aqua feeds. Whereas the fish oil supplements and pet food sectors are growing markets. With the next slide, we'll see that demand for marine ingredients outstrips supply, and market ingredients utilization is therefore influenced by market forces. You can see with those 2 graphs the changes that have appeared over time. Poultry and pig feed producers used to be the biggest users of fish meal. This contrasts with today. 3/4 of fish meal and fish oil are now used in aquaculture as aqua feed. Fish oil supplements are widely consumed, with around 20% of the total fish oil going to this growing industry. This is a massive change compared with the 1960s. So what is the story behind all those changes? As you can see, it's a story around feed efficiency. How and where should these materials be used most efficiently? Or we can also say most strategically. So today, from a global perspective, 1 kilogram of marine raw material gives 5 kilograms of farmed fish. Used strategically in aquatic diets, fish meal and fish oil contribute to producing many more times the volume of more widely accepted and consumed fish and other animal protein in a very efficient way. I've just mentioned the fact that there are fish that are more widely accepted and consumed than small pelagic species. And with the next slide, we'll see that indeed small pelagic species have specific features, such as, for instance, their short lifespan and their seasonal harvesting. And because of these features, there are limitations to the way they can be used. Next slide, please. any of the forage fishery resources that can garner a direct human consumption market will go that way to direct human consumption because it is simple market economics. However, in the absence of those markets, then the best use of a highly perishable, well-managed fishery resource is to dehydrate and stabilize the product to enhance its shelf life so it can be indirectly used to contribute to food production. And we can see on this graph that byproducts from aquaculture production are, as mentioned earlier, growing contributors to fish meal and oil production. We're actually talking about almost 700,000 tons of fish meal being produced in 2021 that came from aquaculture byproducts. So that's a great circularity story. Next slide, please. With those limitations, fish meal and fish oil are considered as ingredients to be used strategically and not anymore as bulk ingredients. And this is also linked to their unmatched nutritional profile, which Petter is now going to explore.
Thank you very much, Veronique. Yeah, I will give you a short introduction also to some key points in the nutritional properties of marine ingredients. And these ingredients have been around for a long time, and they carry a lot of information about the supply, production, nutrients profile, and a lot of other details that they bring to our industry and to our value chain. With relatively high or comparatively high, I would say, rather, protein levels up to 72-75% and often more than 90% digestibility. With this profile of amino acids that everyone is searching to copy or to produce, fatty acid balances, and also the range of new micronutrients that both fish meal and fish oil carries. Marine ingredients, and in particular fish meal and fish oil, have been seen as the benchmark, and it is still the benchmark for other ingredients to aquaculture. And I think this is also shown in the way that these ingredients are being used now. There are also a known factor. I think that also is important here, and it's not only the nutritional but also the physical properties of the marine ingredients that makes it so attractive to aquaculture. The palatability of marine ingredients has sometimes been underestimated, we would say, but it really shows more and more, taking more and more focus now in the feed production, making sure that the efficiency of feeding regimes is supported by the palatability of the feed, and the importance of this is known. The nutritional properties of fish meal and fish oil is also known, I think, to most in aquaculture, both when it comes to the utilization of the nutrients, meaning that you have a better growth in certain periods of the life cycle. High digestibility has been mentioned, but also high product quality in the end product. So if we go to the next slide. I think it's, as I mentioned, it provides the well-rounded nutrition in aquatic diets. You all know this, and putting fish meal and fish oil together in a model like this really also shows how well integrated this is in aqua nutrition. It's a pack, I would call it, what you can get from fish meal and fish oil. And also, it's on the news, but I think that the health aspect of use of marine ingredients in aquafeed is getting more and more noticeable as well. Previously, Nofima has reported that the salmon skin has been strengthened if there is enough omega-3 and zinc in their feed to fight the sea lice that has been and still is a problem. And a report from 2019 also shows that the marine ingredients nutrients also provide an important interaction in the intestines and also likely the gills of the salmon, which is highly important. So if we go to the next slide, not only the animal has the benefit of marine ingredients, it's also a good way for humans and consumers to have access to EPA and DHA, amongst other important nutritional input from healthy fish. So I think heart health has been always pointed to when it comes to the effect of omega-3 and also the effect that actually may reduce coronary heart diseases. Eye health is interesting also to look into. The DHA is found in large amounts in the retina of the eye. And that part of the eye is responsible for seeing under different lighting conditions. And at least I know that I should probably have had a little bit more DHA in the past, changing my glasses a little bit too often. So it's also a perfect carrier, or the fish is a perfect carrier of these important nutrients also to the consumers. So if you go to the next slide now, I think it's the point of difference to other lipid sources is their abundance of long-chain omega-3, EPA and DHA, and also the fact that there's a low level of omega-6. And the balance between omega-6 and omega-3 in the end product is also really important in terms of the health effect of eating fatty fish. So taking us to the next slide then, we can see that the omega-3 long chain polyunsaturated fatty acids, as we know them as EPA and DHA, they come from the marine environment. And they are essential nutrients for all vertebrates' development, metabolism, and physiology. So I think this is also what we say, that the fish oil is the natural source of EPA and DHA. And we know it, we repeat it, but still there's always a discussion, how low can you go? And I think with the fish health, animal welfare, and also having a product that provides these healthy nutrients and omega-3s to the supplier, to the consumers, is really what we need to think about when we are discussing alternatives. There are other types of omega-3s, and the short-chain fatty acids, which don't have the same properties, don't provide the same nutritional and health benefits. It's not unhealthy necessarily, but at the same time, important to hold on to and keep and work with the EPA and DHA levels in the final fillets. So I think with this, I'm going to let the word go to Veronique again.
Thank you, Peter. You've already touched on this story comparing marine ingredients with other ingredients. I think it's also a key, sustainability is also a key angle for this comparison. And to do this story around sustainability, what we try to achieve is to present points of comparison so that people can really conduct cross-sectoral comparisons. And it's really the point of our environmental impact assessment work that I will mention later in this chapter. Starting with the next slide, please. We'd like to show and highlight a few figures. First, referring to recent data from the United Nations FAO, we'd just like to report that 65% of all fisheries are managed sustainably. But it's been demonstrated by the FAO as well that more than 80% of the biomass is managed sustainably. So it's important to note that those fisheries most at threat are those that are high-value food fisheries, where the higher risk warrants the higher return, which is not the case for lower-value forage fisheries. This fishery management aspect is crucial to our sector. And to this, we should also add that at the factory level, marine ingredients are the ingredients with the highest level of certification. The graph I'm presenting here illustrates the volume of global marine ingredients production certified against the Marine Trust standard as being responsibly sourced and produced. The volumes vary over time because it varies according to annual volumes of production, but the total go well beyond any credentials held by any other feed ingredients. So that's an interesting point in the sustainability story, because even if feed ingredients can be responsibly sourced and produced, even if they don't demonstrate any certification, it's an ask that is being increasingly made by consumers to have this ability to demonstrate responsible practices. With the next slide, and still touching on the global food security topic, of course, there are still threats out there to global food security. Marine ingredients are exposed to those risks like all the other commodities, and perhaps the greatest threat we have is climate change. And with that in mind, the marine ingredient sector has looked into its carbon footprint. And what we have observed from various research papers is that the biggest driver of the carbon footprint of marine ingredients comes from the fuel usage by fishing boats for catching the fish. The fuel usage with small pelagics is very low, as most of the boats used are purse seines. And adding to that aspect, we have over 2 million tons of ingredients that are already being produced from circular nutrient recovery. So this is the carbon footprint story. With the next slide, we go beyond the carbon footprint story because it's an imperative. It's not only carbon footprint that matters. That's why the marine ingredient sector has embraced environmental assessment methods like life cycle assessment, because impacts do not just occur at single point, they occur all through the value chain. And all these different stages require land, water, raw materials, energy, and each of these can lead to harmful emissions. That's why this life cycle assessment approach, which we call LCA, can allow for effective and valid comparisons amongst different ingredients based on standardized methods. So we call it an apples against apples approach. And using this approach, we can see that marine ingredients compare quite well against other ingredients in terms of their environmental costs. The advantage of using this approach is that it allows the comparison of a full range of environmental effects assignable to different products and services on a comparable basis. To attempt to standardize these assessments and establish an agreed global framework, the Global Feed Lifecycle Assessment Institute, which you can see here, GFLI, was established as an independent database. And IFFO has been conducting a data project with the GFLI, collecting data from our members across the globe. And we encourage all stakeholders to contribute to this database, because we hope that by providing updated data to this public database, knowledge gaps can be filled in and we can all make better decisions based on comparable findings. I mentioned the Global Roundtable on Marine Ingredients at the start of my presentation. You may have heard of it already. So on the next slide, you can see that we have a range of members within the Global Roundtable, and FEAP is one of them. It's a multi-stakeholder platform which was established in 2021 by IFFO with its partner SFP, Sustainable Fisheries Partnership, which is a global NGO specialized in fisheries. So we have a range of stakeholders involved in this platform. And on the next slide, you can see the key topics we've been covering with the Global Roundtable members. And the environmental impact assessment, which I've just mentioned, is one of the key areas of focus of the Global Roundtable. Other key areas are Asian fisheries, as well as West African fisheries. So what we try to do is to monitor progress with fishery improvement projects in these regions. And there are already quite a few, Vietnam, Thailand, Mauritania. And we also want to encourage more stakeholders to support those efforts. Last month, we released the findings of a third-party assessment conducted in Mauritania and Senegal. So this is this Track the Fish report, which you can see on your screen. It's a third-party study, which was conducted with a human rights lens. And we highlighted with this study the existing gap between current practices in those countries with the global standards for the sector. So it's a call to action from all stakeholders, and with Global Roundtable members, we want to go further, and we've partnered with the FAO to meet with people locally and agree on a work plan. But first and foremost, I think it's the rallying cry for the fishery improvement project that is in Mauritania, that is progressing, and that can help catalyze progress in this region. Thank you very much, and I think your inputs, the discussion, have been very, very helpful. We try to produce new materials all the time, and for that to happen, we need constant feedback. So that's really helpful to have your thoughts, and happy to collaborate with you in the future to refine those messages and materials.
Yeah, thank you very much, and happy to engage anytime. If there are questions or anything we can help with, please let us know.